Thank you so much for coming to the staged reading of A Legacy. You all know me. I'm Amy Crider, and I wrote this. Just to tell you a little of the origin of this play, I was in a new playwriting lab last year called the Refracted Theater Lab. And the point of this lab was that you're supposed to ask a refracted question, some kind of political or social question that you explore different sides of. So the question I posed was, should you even maintain a relationship with someone with whom you passionately disagree? And that was the inspiration for this play. It runs about 50 minutes. It stars Lisa Stran and Jeff Broitman, directed by Mandley. And if you like my work, I have a podcast. Continuousdream.com is where you can find other dramas and comedies with some of the same actors. Thank you so much.
I never actually thought much about the fact that Adam is my twin brother. We come from a big family of 7 kids. We were the last. We brought the number from 5 to 7. Maybe I always felt some responsibility because it's tough to have 7. Financially, when we would have to have cabbage soup the days before payday. Logistically, how to fit in a car, how to fit in anywhere. But anyway, we were twins. Once when I was in college, I was seeing a therapist for a little while. She asked about our special twin relationship. I said, we never had a special twin relationship. She said she'd never heard of twins not having one. Is that right? For one thing, we weren't identical, not the same gender. Should we have had some kind of special relationship?
The Bible never says who is older, Cain or Abel. Isn't that interesting? Was Abel the big brother? Were they twins? Did Cain kill his annoying little brother or his oppressive older brother? When you're the youngest, even as twins, you always know that you're the youngest. Even by 10 minutes. I knew a pair of identical twin girls in high school who were 6 minutes apart. I said to them once that I was 10 minutes slower. They said, "Oh, we always knew you were a little slow." People always thought that I was slow. I wish I had gone to that high school reunion. PhD in classics. No one in that stupid farm town would ever think to get a PhD in classics. I guess if I told them, they wouldn't even know what I was talking about. They'd think I was talking about the Beatles.
So I didn't think much about it when I didn't hear from him for 6 months. People get busy. You leave a voicemail, you send an email. You don't think much about it if they don't respond. I know that if I don't respond right away, it goes right out of my mind. But one day, the email bounced. That's strange. Maybe I should call as soon as I'm less busy.
My career is about a legacy. I tell the kids that from day one. What, you want to forget your history? What else do you have? What shoulders do you stand on? What mountain do you climb? I mean, how do you have a view of the world, a view of the future without that? They want to build a new world. Of course, go ahead. But don't nuke the old one to build your shiny new model. Build it on a foundation. What else you got?
A week goes by. Maybe it's a couple of weeks. Finally, you call and someone picks up. But it's not him. It's a real estate agent in Sacramento. They think you want to buy a condo. No, you say, where's Adam? This is Adam's number. They say, this has been my number for the past 3 months since I opened my business. We have a great deal on a beautiful building in El Dorado Hills. It's near a good hospital, good schools. Would you like to see it? And the floor tilts beneath your feet.
Castor and Pollux are the famous twins, the Gemini. Sons of Leda by 2 different fathers, but it's all murky. Castor might have been the son of Zeus, who raped Leda when he took the form of a swan. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to give you all a trigger warning? That's what the department chair advised me. That I couldn't talk about Leda and the swan without a trigger warning. In case any of my students had ever been raped by a bird.
You call your siblings. They have fragmented information. Adam had some problem at his school. He was unhappy, maybe looking to make a change. They don't know exactly what the problem is. The last time you were all together was Mom's funeral 6 months ago. You try to remember what he said, if he had made a decision, if he was taking another job. You remember he'd been quieter than usual. He did joke around a little. He always did joke around.
When did I start having to walk on eggshells? And why? There are things that matter, and what matters? Something that matters is growing up. Being able to hear difficult things. Being able to tolerate a certain amount of discomfort. These kids will go out in the world and no one is going to hold their hand. There are no trigger warnings. This world is dangerous. This world is deadly.
You start asking your brothers and sisters, have you heard from him? When did you last hear? Gradually, you all realize no one has heard from Adam since Mom's funeral. You all assumed he'd stayed in touch with some other of us. But he hasn't. It sinks in. But he can't be missing. He must have gotten a new phone. Maybe his computer had a meltdown. There's no reason to panic. Not yet.
Life and death, right? I mean, that's what the classics teach. How to live your life. How to face death. The virtuous life. Cardinal virtues. Courage. Honesty. Equanimity. People are looking for answers. Paying for therapists. Talking to their priests. What do I do? How do I live? It's all there. Put down your Bible. Put down that Deepak Chopra. Pick up the Iliad. Pick up Cicero.
So you try his university email address, and that bounces too. You call the number listed for him at school, and the voicemail box says it's full. The family decision is for you to call. Call the university and ask if he's still there.
You think it's all cold, stuffy, antiquarian, emotionless? I try to tell them, this is passion. This is red hot. Jealousy, love, sex, rage.
And they tell you he left 6 months ago. It was a mutual decision. You're not sure what mutual means here. But that isn't important. You ask where he's gone. Did he take another job somewhere? They can't tell you. Do they mean it's confidential, or do they simply don't know? They don't know anything.
He's equal with the gods, that man who sits across from you, face to face, close enough to sup your voice's sweetness. And what excites my mind? Your laughter, glittering. So, when I see you, for a moment, my voice goes, my tongue freezes fire, delicate fire in the flesh, blind, stunned, the sound of thunder in my ears, cold shivers across the skin, tremors all over. I turn the color of dead grass, and I'm an inch from dying. That was Sappho, a voice from across 3 millennia.
You go back to the last emails you got from him, searching for an explanation, a clue. You'd been arguing. It's not pretty. You'd gotten into an argument, the old argument that rises now and again in different ways. His last email was just 2 words. Forget it. From the week after Mom's funeral. Forget it. Nothing more.
This should not be forgotten. It cannot be forgotten. It will not be forgotten.
You try to remember your conversations at the funeral in more detail. Who can remember the small talk of 6 months ago? And you realize that's what it was. It's your mother's funeral, and the only conversation with your twin brother is only small talk.
I will not forget.
Something about the high school reunion.
I will not forget you, Eumaeus, oh my swineherd. The Odyssey. He comes home. Always gets me.
You have to make a plan of people to contact. His friends, his colleagues. Who are his friends? He wasn't married, wasn't dating as far as you know. You look up the faculty of the department and call one of the professors. His voicemail comes back with the recording that it's full too. You send the colleague an email. He calls you and you explain. You ask if he and your brother were friends. He says Adam didn't exactly make friends. But did he say anything? Give a hint? He says he only knew that Adam recently bought a nice new car, a Mercedes SUV. The family has another Zoom meeting. They decide you'll drive to where he lives and see what you can find out. Because you're not as busy as everyone else. That is, you don't have a family, meaning you don't have kids. The fact that you work full-time doesn't register. Being a nun is a calling, not a job. You get permission and you go. Drive 5 hours to Sacramento. The whole way of thinking about the argument, the last email that just said, forget it. You blame yourself. It's not godly to argue. It's not meek.
Cicero, Stoic. Apotheosis, the pinnacle. Cicero never lost a debate. You like those late night talk shows, with all the punchlines? Cicero could lay out a zinger like nobody. How's this one? Times are bad. Children no longer obey their parents, and everybody is writing a book. Funny, huh? I'd like to see Cicero duking it out on late night. Now that would be a show. That would be a lesson in humor. I should have said that to the kids about the humor. Maybe more Aristophanes, less Euripides and Aeschylus. It's important to laugh about it all in the end. Keep it light. Maybe I'm an Epicurean after all.
While the highway rolls under you, your mind goes back to when you were kids. How much he made you laugh. Always ready with a joke. The cartoons he drew. Videos. He wrote and directed the family videos. These weren't home movies. They were epic. The Exorcist. The priest comes in. You're the little girl lying in bed. You have fake puke made of oatmeal all over you. It's cold. It's slimy. And Adam has a cardboard collar and your father's black suit on. He reaches toward the bed and puts his hand under the covers. This isn't in the script. What's he doing? And to your amazement, he pulls out a ukulele. He waves it in the air, puts his foot on the bed, and starts to sing to YMCA.
Purgatory, we're all going to purgatory. You can walk on hot coals, you can dance with a snake, you can haunt a museum, whatever it takes. Come on now, purgatory, we're all going to purgatory.
And you're trying not to laugh because he's shooting this, and you're determined not to break character, even though he sprung this on you. And your 5 siblings burst in dressed as demons, singing and dancing. One of them has bongos, another has a tambourine, and they gather around the bed and start shaking it, lifting it up, and letting it crash down to the beat. And he has a 6th sense because he shouts, "That's a wrap!" Just as your mother slams open the door in a rage, shouting her only swear word. Damnation! What in God's name are you kids doing up here? This isn't a psych ward. The plates almost fell off the wall. She sees you in your vomit oatmeal costume and goes quiet. That's when you know you're in trouble, when she goes silent. Your laughter stops in your throat. She tells you to wash the sheets, to be responsible. She whispers to Adam to put Dad's suit back in the closet before he ruins it. You're 10 years old and you've never actually used the washing machine before. You start to ask how to do it and your mom only says, "Figure it out." And you do. The next thing you know, you've taken over the laundry duties from your big sister. And for the rest of your life, washing sheets makes you feel that cold, slimy oatmeal again. And you smile. It was epic.
And then one day it's over. Not my fault. Apparently I was supposed to change with the times, but what I have built my life on is what doesn't change. Essential truths. I'm not interested in fashion, in things that are ephemeral. Feelings change. Feelings are ephemeral. Politics are ephemeral. Cicero once said, "Politicians aren't born, they're excreted." Now, I try to tell them that, but somehow it comes out as if I am saying that their feelings are excrement, but I never said that. I wouldn't say that. I'm trying to help them. That's what no one is willing to hear. I am trying to help them to achieve transcendence. Let go of these fleeting, unimportant fashions of thinking, these distractions. Don't get caught up in distractions. Open your mind. Open your heart. Open your eyes. I'm pleading with them. I'm begging them. Can't they see that I'm begging them?
You drive along with a small package next to you, and you're trying not to think about it. You're still remembering. There was the dunce cap. Every year at New Year's, someone gets the dunce cap for the most foolish decision of the year. Like the time your sister dyed her hair purple and it stained the white tiles of the shower, every towel, her pillows. Or the time your oldest brother tried making marijuana brownies and ended up needing his stomach pumped. The year you get the dunce cap is when you join the poor players, and the family discovers St. Clair is the patron saint of television. It's true. Patron saint of television. Good Lord.
I joke about it. I joke. Joke because it hurts too much. Sometimes in their eyes, I think that the kids get it. They do get it. It's just the layers of management and bureaucracy, the rules that they put in place, thinking that they could protect everyone. If everyone just uses the right language, if everyone uses the correct language, then no one ever has to hurt. What favor am I doing them? If we coddle them now, this world is going to eat them alive. If something is wrong, debate it. Show me what you got. Argue it. But don't erase it. Don't say that's not allowed. They chip away at it. A class dropped here, a textbook dropped there. They chip away at me.
You've never been to his house. He's always come to you. The neighborhood is unfamiliar. Modest, brick bungalows, almost like the Midwest. Well-kept lawns, little gardens, but it's past its prime. You see a chain-link fence. Remember something your mother once quipped. Nothing says who was shot here today like a chain-link fence. His house has a dark, dingy look. There are cheap vinyl shades in the front window. You ring the bell and it echoes. There's no sound beyond it. Next door, a dog barks and a man comes out of his house. Excuse me, sir, I'm looking for the man who lives here. He replies, the man who lives there is at work. At the university? He says, at the Home Depot. Adam works at the Home Depot? I'm his sister Hannah. He pauses and squints. Oh, Adam, I get you now. No, Adam ain't here. He lost the house. Foreclosure. Your heart drops. Do you know where he went? The man shrugs and says, he took off in that shiny new Mercedes he bought. Took off, and that's all I know. The dog starts to whine, and the man gives you a salute and goes on his way. You wonder whether to ask any of the other neighbors. The sun is setting, and you don't feel great in this neighborhood. You decide to check into a hotel. Googling the neighborhood, you find there's actually a convent nearby. Being a nun has its privilege, so you go there. The sisters welcome you, give you a light supper. You promise to do some work for them in exchange for the room and some computer time. You hardly know where to start, but you look up friends from the old days. Maybe someone from college, even high school. Some names are so darn common. How am I supposed to find the right Steve Baker, the right Jim Peterson? Why were all of our friends so darn vanilla? You try to think of the friend with the most unusual name you can think of. You remember a black college student named Novelette Stewart. How many black Novelette Stewarts can there be? Maybe on Facebook. There's one. She looks so different, but it's been almost 20 years. You message her, and by some Facebook miracle, she gets the message and replies. But it's not her. A different Novelette Stewart. You go ahead and explain the situation as if that could help. She says, someone else once asked her if she was the other Novelette 6 months ago. A guy. Might have been Adam. And after she said she wasn't the one, he wrote back and said, hey, guess what? I found her. She's in Scotland. Married a lord or something. It's a tenuous clue, but it's all you have. You dig around and find her. There is a castle, a tourist site, and she and this lord run it. You check the time. It would be early morning there, so you email their info address. For the first time, you're starting to feel desperate. You're not going to sleep. You're going to keep checking for a reply all night.
My mother is dying. Various siblings take turns helping out. I'm the farthest away, and I don't get to see her much. She tries to keep it all secret. For a while, if she could have, she would have wandered off into the woods like a cat, sneak off to die. You see, she doesn't want all the fussing and attention. I'm the only one who gets that. And that's another reason that I stay away, so as not to overwhelm her. The word gets around that she's on morphine. The end is near. Everyone agrees to descend on her at once, to be there. On the phone, she says to me, "Why is everybody suddenly coming? You are all scaring me.
Despite your effort to stay awake, you do fall asleep. You dream of the time your brother nursed an injured bird to health. His joy when it flew away. It seems like it must have been a dream, but it really happened years ago. Then you jump off the cot to check the computer, and there is a reply from Novelette.
And we get there, and my sisters are cleaning and telling her to rest. And she's too weak to resist. Or she hates it. She closes her eyes. What are the last sounds that she hears? My nieces and nephews playing a video game in the family room, a vacuum cleaner humming in the den. Somehow I'm alone with her. Her face relaxes, tension releases. Her hands drift. I bend down and I whisper, I'll see you soon.
She's happy to hear from you. Yes, Adam did contact her. They talked on the phone 6 months ago. He told her mom died. But he wanted to talk about the old days, school, those classic authors, the funny professors. They laugh. He didn't say anything about losing his job or being behind on the mortgage. He said he wanted to visit Scotland. He thanked her because it was Novelette who'd inspired his passion for Cicero. She asks if you still have the same opinion of war and peace. Just like Adam keeping up an argument. All those years ago, you and Novelette had a heated discussion about whether war and peace has a happy ending. You insisted it does. Pierre winds up with the incandescent Natasha. Novelette said, no, Natasha is ruined now. All the glow has been taken away from her. You said, Tolstoy meant this to be a happy ending. Novelette said, what Tolstoy meant didn't matter. You're in the dining hall, arguing this over breakfast. You're having the happiest time in your life having this argument. Then the word spreads. The news that spreads across the room like a wave of fire. Because this is the morning of 9/11.
The fact that we were all already there just makes the funeral easier. A Catholic mass, candles, and condolences. It was what everyone wanted. Except maybe Mom. Mom still attended mass, still kept up with the church and volunteering. But she stopped taking communion long ago, after 9/11. She lost her faith. She stopped believing in a loving God. She didn't want to be brazen or public about it. She didn't loudly declare her atheism. But something snapped quietly in her heart.
Novelette once joked that you should become one of those hippie nuns. Long before you became one, she saw right through you. You'd lost touch, so she never knew your decision, your calling. So you reply to the email and say, you were right. I'm one of those hippie nuns now. But there isn't much more to say because you're no closer to finding out where Adam is. You promised to let her know when you find him.
Mom was a reader. Always. That's what she taught me. Think. Think for yourself. I had Latin from the 6th grade, Greek my senior year. She made sure she saw that in me, that fire. I was slow to learn to read, but then it was like an oak shooting up overnight. She called me her scholar. My son, the scholar. I carry that in me. She hung my diploma up in the front hall. It's the first thing that you would see walking into her house. It was for her that I did that. It was to honor her. I mean, there were people along the way who encouraged me, turned me on to Cicero, kept the fire burning, but it was Mom all along. Her belief in the mind. The independent mind. So I was glad when she quietly rejected the church. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that I don't believe. It's superstition. It's dangerous.
It's morning and you've agreed to do some work for the convent. First, you kneel and pray. You pray for Adam, and you hear his silent reproach. He doesn't want prayers. But you need to do something. You need to find strength and hope. Prayer is your meditation. You draw from it like a well. You think about family, how this prayer goes back so many generations, how your mother prayed, and how she lost her faith. But faith isn't something just of the mind, a belief like the opinion of who has the best baseball team or the best apple pie. Faith lives in the body. It moves through the body. Faith is the strong back of the man planting potatoes. Faith are the fingers of the violinist. Faith are the clean hands of the surgeon, the sensitive ears of the poet, the eyes of the painter, the arms of the woodcarver, the wings of the sparrow nesting on your front porch. Faith is the rib cage around your beating heart.
She knew that I wouldn't like it. Become a nun? Like, all in black, like one of those pantomime performers? No, she says, no, you wear modest clothes and the thing on your head. Nuns are modern. And that word, modern, suddenly enrages you because it is neither. It's not modern and it's not the ancient root of civilization. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I know what it's not. It's not having an independent brain anymore. It's swallowing the pablum of the patriarchy. I mean, isn't it? What happened to her feminism? Oh, this must be a phase. Of course it is. Some romantic little drama about suffering and martyrdom. Yeah, young women are like that. They go through a phase of embracing martyrdom, reading the poetry of suicidal women. Yeah, she'll get over it. Maybe better not to argue. But one day, it's actually done. She's wearing the thing and the little cross around her neck, and my sister is now Sister Hannah. At least she didn't change her name to Ignatius, but she's changed. And even though she said that she was going to do it, I'm still shocked.
You wish you could say there was a moment that a voice called to you. But there wasn't. There was the shock of 9/11. There was the peacefulness of church with your mother when you were a child. The grace of your brother rescuing a bird. You volunteer. You talk to people. People who work at the most traumatizing professions. Social worker, pediatric oncologist, and sometimes they say, without my faith, I couldn't do this. I couldn't get through it. And it sinks in.
I know Mom would not approve. I know when Mom's smile is phony and strained, and I am the only one who can tell that fake smile that she puts on. Because Hannah has turned her back on everything that we really stand for. And you know what? It's not just this bride of Christ fantasy. It's this irresponsible belief in putting everything on society, rejecting the individual as the center of everything.
Your father died when you and Adam were 12. You suddenly have to grow up. And you make a vow. A pinky promise. You devise a serious contract. The wind may shake us. It shall not break us.
Like a shield, we will not yield.
This we swear no matter where.
If duties call, we shall not fall.
We will not wait for random fate.
But make our own with blood and bone.
How serious we were then. But humor gets us both through. And later, when you take that other vow, it starts with teasing. He sends you cute jokes.
One day, an Irishman named Hector is playing golf. He drives his ball into the woods. Now, in the woods, a little fairy is stuck in a hole in a tree. Hector pries him out and frees the fairy. The little man says, "Oh, you must let me thank you." "Oh, no, it's not necessary," says Hector. "No, I must. From now on, you will play the best golf of your life. You will have all the ale you ever want for your thirst. And you'll have fabulous sex all your days." In the wink of an eye, the fairy disappears. A year later, Hector is playing golf again. He's at the edge of the wood when the fairy returns. "Oh, Hector, how are ye, man?" "Oh, I'm fine," says Hector. "How is your reward working out? Your golf game is good?" "Oh, aye, the game is wonderful every time I play." "And the ale is good?" "Oh, yes, my thirst is always quenched." The fairy sidles closer. "Well, how is your sex life?" Hector says, "Well, for a priest in a small town, I do all right."
The jokes go on, but they develop a harder edge. He says bitter, sarcastic things. Adam was always a joker, but he's like a puppy that nips you, and sometimes that nip turns into a bite.
She takes everything personally. Just like those kids. Those kids who can't separate themselves from opinions and fashionable flavor of the month things to be outraged about. But it's not only that.
It's not only that, he starts to change. He says things you don't even recognize. At one point you say, "I know we have more things in common than difference. I know we agree on most things." But you start not to recognize him.
America has the fattest poor people in the world.
You try to talk about food deserts and the low cost per calorie of junk food. How if people don't have money for food, they'll gravitate to calorie-dense food. He waves it off. You send him articles, and now you're exchanging articles. And you start to question his sources, and he says his sources are unbiased.
Question everything.
You try to joke too. You point out that the only places in history that successfully practiced communism are monasteries and convents.
Government is not the solution, it's the problem.
The last time the family conferred the dunce cap was New Year's 2017. Adam gets it because he voted libertarian.
They chip away at me.
And you know you should drop it. Just drop it. That morning at the convent, you spend a few minutes scrolling through those emails. You're ashamed for arguing so pointlessly. Sometimes you were sarcastic too. At one point you said, "Has libertarianism ever built a road? Look at the pyramids. Government did that. Libertarians can't build Stonehenge. Libertarians didn't put a man on the moon."
It's about efficiency. It's about what works.
And his last email is just 2 words. Forget it. That was 6 months ago. Now you don't know where he's gone, and there's a package you brought with you, something he sent right after the funeral. It says, "Don't open until after I die." Why didn't it scare you? What if he's committed suicide? Why didn't that occur to you before?
Because my mother was sick. I kept it secret. My own illness. Stage 4. No hope. Oh. I could fight it, but the odds are so infinitesimal that there's no point. I mean, with chemo, I would just end my days sick as a dog. I've lost my job. No insurance anymore. There's no reason to pay any bills. I let it all go. I take my money, I buy a new car. A nice, beautiful Mercedes. They foreclose on the house. What the hell? I'll live in my nice new Mercedes.
You didn't question it at the time, because Mom had just died and everyone was talking about death cleaning and getting rid of stuff, and it went by you. And now, is he dead? So, you slowly open the package. The sound of paper ripping open echoes in the quiet room. Purple fabric with gold trim. It's the dunce cap. And the note says, "For you, because you ever thought we had anything in common." Your fear and your rage ripped through you. First, you're furious. He's always insulted you, but this is the limit. You've reached your limit. If he wants to disappear, fine. Why should you turn your life upside down trying to find him? He's rejected everything you've ever had. Fine, let him go. Gone. And then the shaking hits you. Waves of grief shaking your body and you cry. How did this happen? Why do people break apart this way? How does it all break apart? You cry and your breath comes out in sharp, painful gasps. After it's done, you splash cold water on your face, you straighten up. It's morning. It's time to do your chores for the convent. They have a shelter and it's time to serve breakfast.
I hit the road. It's beautiful. I drive up and down the coast with my last few bucks. Find places to shower. Let beard grow. The ocean sings to me. The trees protect me like loving arms. I find all these little towns with Victorian mansions, dark and haunted looking. One day, I'm out of the car. I found a museum to explore. Greek statues, Roman coins. I examined the mosaics, the emperors. And when I come out, someone has stolen the car. My beautiful Mercedes with the last of my savings in a paper bag in the glove box.
You take your place behind the counter serving scrambled eggs, potatoes, toast, and sausages. A good, filling meal. There's a pot of oatmeal and you smile about that old home movie. A man takes a scoop of the oatmeal. He drops in a big clump of butter, just like Adam would. And you look at him and you almost scream. It's Adam.
Hi.
Hi.
What are you doing here?
I was looking for you.
You knew that I was here?
I had no idea I was at your house.
That nun is telling me to move on.
Well, we'll talk later.
We don't have to.
Yes, we do. And he moves along, getting some orange juice and coffee, and you're busy and can't stare at him. Breakfast seems to go on forever, and then the dishes. You scrub the oatmeal pot and you thank God. You aren't superstitious. You don't believe God actually arranged this to happen. But you have to thank someone. Thank something. The cafeteria is empty when you're done, and you ask around if he has a bed there. They tell you yes. And they think he might be pretty sick, but he won't see a doctor. You find his cot upstairs. They're arranged 3 to a room, but he's the only one in his. He's lying down and he looks all gray. His face is tense with pain. You sit beside him.
What do you do? I don't mean your work. I mean, if you had to say in one sentence, the most important thing that there is to you, that you do, what is it?
Oh, this might be more than a sentence. To bear witness?
Go on.
We don't proselytize. Sometimes I just sit with someone like this. I just sit with them.
Don't tell me that you don't proselytize.
I've never tried to convert you back.
You always have. Non-stop. Not about the church, maybe. The other thing. But it's related for you.
I had to push back. Sometimes you were so hurtful.
You take it all so personally.
It is personal.
Nothing should be personal.
Let's not. Do you remember the bird?
Of course I remember the bird.
You were so joyous in that moment. I felt deep down you knew the love of God.
You don't understand.
You were so joyous. You were laughing so deeply into the sky.
My joy was that I had made him free again. He didn't need us anymore. We made him independent. That independence was everything to me.
I see.
Mom was happy that we'd set him free. She said that it was unnatural for something as free as a bird to be dependent on humans. Dependence is my worst nightmare. It was hers too. It crushed her when she was sick, to be dependent.
It crushed her?
It would crush me too. What's yours, huh? Your worst nightmare.
That someone might need my help and I fail.
Don't feel guilty. Mom wouldn't like that.
I wanted to honor her, to live up to her example.
I wanted the same.
Her charity, her spirituality.
Her humor, her self-reliance.
What do I do now?
You know your calling. To sit here. Only to sit here. And then just be.
You know he doesn't want your prayer, so you don't pray. Later there will be things to arrange. For now, you only sit with him.